Hello guys, Sturgeon here. Welcome to my kind of beginners or introductory guide to the Scouring, which also covers some general RTS principles. If you're new to the game or the genre, I hope this video will help you a lot just to get started playing the game and to know what's going on. Here are the things that I'll be covering in the video, and I will timestamp them at the bottom, so feel free to jump around and watch what you want. All right, let's get started. Okay, so let's talk about production. So the first building that we have in the game is the Town Hall. And this building allows you to make workers. The default hotkey is E. And you can train workers from this building to collect resources for you. You can also upgrade Bow's Reserve, which gives your peasants a ranged attack when they're on top of a building, such as a barracks or an upgraded Town Hall. And this is very useful for defending your base against creeps at night or harassment from the enemy player. You can also tech to tier 2, which gives you access to various new buildings, units, and upgrades. After that, the next building we have is the farm, and the farm gives you extra supply, which I'll talk about exactly how that works later on. After that, we have the sawmill, or the logging camp, which serves as a drop-off point for lumber. Then there is the barracks, which is your main military unit producing structure. This building has a special feature where your units can actually climb on top of it like this. They can go down, they can go up, and you can put the archers, the footmen, and cannons, as well as workers on top of these the barracks. Knights and munchers, however, cannot go up there. And this is good because it keeps the unit safe, it gives them a range buff, and they can climb on top of the town hall, but only once it's upgraded to tier 2 and 3. You can also get the charge upgrade on the barracks, which allows your swordman to use the charge ability. This is kind of a dash. You select the ability, click on an enemy unit, and it will close the distance with the charge very quickly. Okay, next is the guard tower, which, unlike a regular tower or cannon from other games, doesn't fire by itself, but allows you to put units on a high ground building easily. And you can get 4 archers up there. You can't put 5, or you can put 1 archer and 1 cannon. And this gives them some high grounds which they can easily access, and it's much cheaper than the barracks. The barracks is 600, 400, as you can see, and the guard tower is only 200, 100. So it's a cheap way to quickly get some high ground. Okay, next we have the smithy for the humans and the forge for the orcs. And the smithy and forge allow you to train cannons one at a time. And they also let you upgrade 2 upgrades. The first is research shields. This allows your swordsman to use the defend ability. If you played Warcraft 3, it functions pretty much the same as defend in that game, where it will greatly decrease. You can see the grunts doing it here. It would greatly decrease the damage that footmen and grunts receive from ranged attacks. So for example, if you're up against an archer user and you have a bunch of footmen, this upgrade will allow you to take much less damage. Then there's the artillery upgrade, which is for cannons. It gives them a small AoE attack, which is very large range, as the largest range attack in the game right now. And I will show that when we go through the units later. Okay, after that is the Muncher Cave for the orcs and the stables for the humans, which allow you to, first of all, tech to tier 3 at the town hall or the fort. Allows you to upgrade to castle. And it also unlocks the production of cavaliers for humans or munchers for the orcs. Each race can also create barricades which prevent the enemy units from walking through them. They create a wall basically, and when you make them you can use the mouse wheel to rotate, as you see here. This won't fully wall it, but just to show you guys, you can go ahead and make it. And then it's quite interesting the way it works. Your units will automatically pass over it. It'll go down like this for your units, but it won't do that for the enemy units. So you don't need to put a gate on it as you might do in some other games. It will just go up and down for your units automatically. Okay, and the final buildings for each race are the church for the humans, and the orc races have an altar instead. These buildings are available at tier 3, and they have an upgrade for your melee units, the knight and the muncher. The humans get access to cure, and the munchers get access to rage, which I will go over later. So right now each race only has 5 units each, and 4 of them are identical. First there's the worker, who simply collects resources and builds buildings. They can also defend bases by standing on top of a barracks or an upgraded town hall. And if you have the bows reserve upgrade, they'll get these little bows, and they'll be able to shoot units up from here with a ranged attack. And they can also power build buildings, so you can use multiple workers to create a single building if you want to make a structure even quicker than usual. That comes at no extra cost. And then they also have a repair ability. So if your buildings get damaged, you can repair them with this building ability here. And again, multiple workers can do that at once. It will, however, cost you resources. Okay, next is the basic melee unit, which is the footmen for the humans and the grunts for the orcs. And they're basic melee infantry, and they have 2 upgrades at the moment. The first upgrade is charge. This increases unit speed when attacking. You can right click to auto cast it on or off. If you leave it on, the auto cast, whenever you attack move within range of an enemy, they'll automatically charge onto them. So I'll go ahead and show this now. Find some workers here, just A move, they'll go ahead and do the charge there like that. You can also press A and then attack an individual unit to charge to, that specific unit. Like if I want to charge to, I don't know, this footman, say. I have to wait for it to be off cooldown. As soon as it's off cooldown, I can go ahead and do that. And yep, that's the charge ability. They also have defend. And defend is this ability where the footmen raise their shields. And this will deflect incoming range attacks, and it makes them go more slowly, as you can see. This is really good against range attacks like bows, archers, cannons, etc. And you can toggle this on and off really quickly, actually. So you can press D and X, you can quickly put it on, quickly put it off as you need. And then footmen have one more kind of unique ability. It's not really an ability, but I think they can do. They can go and capture the outposts, the neutral outposts. And only the footmen can do this. No other unit can capture an outpost. And when you put a footman up here, you'll see that the bar starts to fill. And then when this is 100% completely filled, you will have captured the tower. The outpost is going to make a huge noise. And then you can put your other units like archers and cannons up there. So we'll just go ahead and wait for this to fill up. You hear the big noise. There it is. And as well as being able to go on the top of the outposts, footmen can also go on top of enemy barracks. And they're the only unit that can do this again. No other unit can go on top of enemy barracks. And when they go on top of the enemy barracks, they're actually able to hit it and generate gold income. So they're kind of the unit that you want to get on top of your enemy's buildings with. Like, I don't think I'll be able to show this here because I'll probably die. Let's see if we can get one dude up there. Yeah, so they can go up here like this, and these are going to die, but you can fight up here, and if there's no units on top of it, the footman will be able to attack the barracks and generate gold. After that is the archer, and the archer is identical for each race. This unit is trained at the barracks, and it's your range option at tier 1. It excels at early game creeping, kiting units for highly efficient fights, holding bases and towers due to their huge range whilst on top of barracks and town halls. They currently have no upgrades at the time of making this video, but I'm sure that will change in the future. This unit is super good for creeping as well. You can creep an archer camp in the beginning with very few units, You can creep the ogres that spawn here with very few units if you just kite them. Wolves, you need a few more, but you can still do it. So just a very versatile range unit that you often want to get at some point during the game. Next is cannons, which are again identical for both races. They are a ranged unit which deal a lot of damage, and they can attack in two ways. So the first way is by entering siege mode, and to do that you go ahead and hit the G key by default, and they will set up like this. And when in siege mode, they'll shoot these big AoE shots. Go ahead and siege like this. If you need more range, or if your opponent's on high ground, however, the siege mode will not hit them. So in that case, you can use the artillery mode, which is an upgrade. And this is R by default. And if you select R, you'll get this little AoE indicator. And if you shoot this, you'll get a very long range AoE shot that will rain down these shots from very far. I'll try and show you the max range here, just so you get an idea of it. Or even further than that, apparently. So yeah, they shoot from very far away, all the way to the outpost from here. So the siege goes like this far, and then oftentimes you'll end up setting up with archers and cannons, and then trying to use the artillery mode to break the siege. So this is kind of your siege weapon, your longest range weapon, and you get this from the smithy for the humans and the forge for the orcs. So the last unit for each race at the time of making this video, I'm sure there will be more units in the future, are the tier 2 knights and munchers, which both have a tier 3 upgrade. So the humans have the knights, or cavaliers as they're actually called in the game, and they are produced out of a barracks, but they require a stable to be built. For the orc race, they're produced out of the barracks, but they require the muncher cave to be able to be built. And they're a fast melee unit. They have a lot of health with a 240 HP, which is double that of a footman. The cavaliers can research a healing ability, Cure, which they can cast on any unit apart from themselves. And the muncher also has an ability called Rage, which it can cast on other units to greatly increase their damage. So this is basically the highest tier unit we have in the game right now. And when it comes down to just big land fights in open areas, like, this unit is kind of the king, you know? Like, you can create choke points with cannons, archers, that kind of thing. You can wall them out, but if they get on top of you and they're hitting you, the damage is really insane. And as you can see, the heal ability is significant, well, very strong, but you get a significant amount of healing from it. It does, however, cost mana, so if you're low on mana, the heal won't do very much. Yeah, you can see here, like, none of the units are really dying. That's how good the cure is. And for the munchers, they can't heal, but they get really well, a lot of damage with the rage ability. Okay, so that wraps it up for the units. Next, let's take a look at the UI and the unit commands. So selecting a singular unit or building will bring it up in this little card in the bottom right of the screen, and you can see the options you have available. So you can first of all attack with A. If you press A and then attack a unit, you will shoot at it or attack it. If you attack the ground near a unit like this, your unit will run there and attack any enemy units it encounters along the way. This is what people call A moving. You get all your units when you want to have a big fight. You get all your units, you A move towards your opponent's army, and they will all fight like that. Next we have patrol. So if you want a unit to patrol an area, you can click P, select the ground, and the units will run back and forth like this. And if they run into an enemy, they will automatically attack it. Next is hold position. If you hold position, your units will not move. So if I hold position on this knight, it's not going to attack anything unless that thing goes into its range. So if one of these archers were to get close to my hold position knight, it would attack it. If not, it will just stand there. So normally you want to use this on range
Our
units
forces are under attack.
that are holding an area. So like if you were to try and control the choke, you might put some units here and hold position them like that. We also have the health potion, and you can buy health potions in this game by being close to your town hall. It doesn't matter what tier it is, and by pressing C. And then you'll see the little potion pop up here. You can go ahead and press C again, and you can carry up to 2 potions. You can use these manually with Q, or the unit will automatically drink a potion when it's low on health, and this will give it a good heal. Also, enemy units, if they're carrying potions, they will often drop them on the ground, and you can run your units over the items and pick them up and use them for yourself. Okay, next let's talk about control groups. As with many other RTS games, players in the Scouring can use control groups to both improve their macro and their micro by setting units or buildings to control groups and then pressing the corresponding control group number to quickly select those units or buildings. So for example, you can select some units and you can press Control +1 to assign them to the control group 1, as you see here by the numbers. Then if I deselect them and then select press 1, it will automatically select the units that I assigned to that control group. And you can go ahead and make multiple control groups. Like say I want to split my units up to 3 groups. Now I have one group of units, another group of units, and a third group of units. And this is the way to quickly bounce between groups of units and buildings as well. So I can put all my town halls on one button or one control group, my military buildings on another control group, and this allows me to quickly select the units or buildings that I need. In addition to being able to create groups, but by using control, you can also add units to group using shift. So let's say, for example, if I just unhook all these, say I want to add this archer from control group 3 to control group 1, I can go ahead and press shift +1 and he will change to control group 1. So I've added him to the group. Same with this cannon. And then if I want to move them, I can move them to any group that I want by just pressing shift and the key. There's also a very important option that you need to know about here called exclusive control groups. Now when this is checked like this, it means a single unit cannot be in 2 separate control groups. I highly recommend turning this setting on, as if you have a unit in multiple control groups, you can often give orders to units that you didn't really want to do. But for example, now if I have these units in 1, if I go ahead and shift add it to 2, it will actually remove it from 1 as well. Whereas if I have this setting off and the unit is in 1, if I go ahead and use shift 2, you can see it's still part of the control group 1, even though the number doesn't show up. So I recommend keeping this setting on so that you don't get units in multiple groups and kind of get confused and have units go in places they shouldn't be. Okay, next let's take a look at the economy of the Scouring. It's rather simple compared to some other RTS games, and it's quite like Warcraft 3, as there are only 2 resources, gold and lumber or wood. And workers and footmen only cost gold, and then basically all the other tech units, archers, cannons, knights, munchers, cost both gold and wood. And then most upgrades cost both gold and lumber, except for heal and rage, the knight and muncher upgrade, which each cost 800 gold. Of course, you start with just 1 base, but if you want to improve your economy even further, you can go ahead and build a town hall on another gold mine and start to collect gold from there as well. There is a maximum of 80 workers, however, so your economy is kind of capped in some way. You can't make infinite workers. Okay, next let's talk about supply. So you can see the supply up here in the top right. And unlike in other games, the Scouring doesn't have a hard population cap, but rather a floating population cap. So each farm you produce will increase the amount of food you produce or generate, which is the number on the left here, on the left at the bottom. And each unit you make will increase the amount of food you consume, which is the number on the right at the bottom. If you produce more food than you consume, you are in the green, as you can see now. And your supply at the top will be above 0, and you are fine. You're doing great. If, however, let's say if I take some units off the farm, if, however, your units consume more food than you produce, your supply will go below 0, and your units will become starved. Now, when your units are starved, they will receive a debuff, making them move much slower, and they will also lose HP over time until they get to 1 HP or they stop starving. And you'll see this right now, my supply is at 80, but as time goes on, as I'm operating at a deficit here, this will eventually go to 0 and then below 0, and my units will become starved. So what does this mean? Well, it means that you can make as many units as you want, except that you will be limited by the number of farms you have. Otherwise, your units will be starved. There is a hard cap on the number of workers you can have in this game, which is 80, which also puts a cap on the number of active farms you can have, which puts a limit on the number of non-starved units that you can have. So for farms, if you have 1 worker on a farm, it gives you 60 food generated. If you have 2 workers on a farm, it gives you 90. And if you have 3 workers on a farm, it gives you 120. So in the beginning of the game, you want to have 3 workers on each farm, as is efficient for your economy. But in an end game where you have lots of money and want the biggest army possible, putting 1 or 2 workers on each farm might be something to consider. Scouring, there is a day and night cycle. The game starts during the day, as you can see, and this lasts for 2 minutes and 55 seconds. You can check the time up here on the timer. And once this hits 2 minutes and 55 seconds, it will turn to night. And the night lasts for 4 minutes and 10 seconds until 7:05 on the in-game timer. Then the next day lasts until 12:55. The next night lasts until 17:05. The next day lasts until 22:55. And the next night lasts until 27:05, etc. You can see these numbers here on the screen, and there's a pattern, right? So during the day, everything is all fine and good, like nothing unusual happens. But at night, you will be attacked by undead creeps, which spawn on the map. So let's go ahead and talk about creeps. Okay, so creeps. So as it turns to night, undead creeps will begin to spawn and attack your units and bases. So learning how to defend against these attacks without losing too many units or buildings is very important, especially as the game goes on. So many players are curious about how the creep spawning works, so let's just talk about it real quick. The skeletons spawn on the map nearby either player's units or buildings. However, they only spawn in areas which you have no vision of. So you can see I have no vision of these areas all over the map. There might be a corner down here or so that I don't have vision of. So these are the places where skeletons can spawn. They cannot spawn in areas where I have vision. So you really want to try and get as much vision around your base as possible. So I usually put a farm here so I can see these corners. After I clear this camp, I'll put a farm here so I have vision of this and no creeps come out of here. I usually try and have a unit down here. And you want to just have as much vision around your base as possible. The number of skeletons that actually spawn depends on how many units and buildings a player has. So the more units and buildings you have, the more skeletons that spawn. And also, the amount of units that have died will also cause an increase in the number of skeletons that spawn. So here you can see at the beginning of the game, I don't have many units, I don't have any buildings. So the creeps kind of trickle in one by one, sometimes 2 at a time. but there aren't too many. However, once you get to, say, the third or fourth night and hundreds of units have died, you have a lot of supply, then the number of creeps that you'll be getting attacked by will be so much more. So one thing you want to do is to make sure you have a barracks near your town halls, and try to build everything kind of close to the barracks if you can, because archers on top of a barracks will deal with most of the creeps for you. If you go ahead and expand, if you take a new base, you also want to put a barracks up there. You don't want like all your barracks down here and then, you know, bases out on the map that have no protection. And you also want to split your units between your bases. If you don't have vision somewhere, you want to put units down there. Like I might want to leave units over here, because if he were to run down here, he might kill my workers, although the archer range should deal with it. So that's generally how you want to defend against the creeps. Okay guys, that is going to go ahead and wrap up my guide for the scouring. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. If you want to see more content like this, let me know. Or if there's a specific topic that you want to cover, it could be PvP guides, a certain build order, general tips about anything, then please let me know and I'll see what I can do. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video.